Today, we have a topic suggested by Don Dillingham. Thank you very much, Don. Wanting to talk about how to respond to overcalls and other types of, other bidding situations when your side didn't open and what the guidelines should be. And so we have a review. This is we're going to start with some of the more elementary aspects of it and then move on to some of the more advanced ones. So let's jump in here and get started. First thing that comes up, of course, is a simple overcall. And a simple overcall just means that you didn't jump. Most of you know that there are several reasons for overcalling if you can. It's not necessarily true that the hand belongs to the opponents, particularly if you have an opening hand yourself. There's just as much chance that you and your partner may buy the hand as the opponents might. Another reason to get into the bidding is to try to throw a monkey wrench into their bidding schemes. Most players who've been playing any time at all, if left unmolested, will get to an appropriate contract. They have a lot more problem, though, if you stick something in that messes up their bidding schemes. And then, of course, there's always, well, partner, if you're on lead, I'd appreciate it if you'd lead this suit. So those are the reasons why you might want to bid when your right-hand opponent has opened the bidding. But you have to realize that when you overcall, you're taking a certain amount of risk. And that is because your left-hand opponent now knows that his partner has an opening hand. He knows how much combined strength there is, at a minimum anyway. If he assigns a hand worth 12 or 13 points to his partner and adds it to his total, then you might get eventually doubled. Now, obviously, if there's an opening bid and then another suit call, double there is negative. But we've talked about how people who play negative doubles can utilize a penalty double, how they pass, and then it's up to partner to reopen with the double and then can be converted. So you still, even if the opponents play negative doubles, you still expose yourself to the possibility of getting hit with a low-level double. Now, does this happen frequently? No, but that doesn't mean that it's any fun when it does. Believe me, I've been there. So, bearing in mind that your partner is going to lead the suit that you bid, if he's a good partner, and most of us are blessed with good partners, that you need to have some standards for your overcalls. So generally remembering that overcalls are made at the 1 or the 2 level, we need to make some points of differentiation here between 1 or 2 level overcalls, and then of course 3 or 4 level overcalls. If someone preempts in front of you as responder or opens the bidding with a preempt, then you need to think about, well, is my common garden variety 12-point hand here that I'm sitting with planning to open sufficient now for the level at which I need to bid? So let's talk about the requirements for overcalling. Now, notice that I have said at the 1 level, I have put an 18-point top on most of these overcalls. This is a matter of partnership agreement. I personally use 17 high card points as the top high card point level for my overcalls. Anything higher, and I start with a big double. You need to have a quality five or more card suit. I'm not talking about a jack empty fifth suit here. And people will say, well, but it's a 5-card suit and it's the spade suit, and I can really interfere with them. And I want you to consider something else. Your partner may have had a much better lead than leading your suit. He might have had King, Queen, 10 in a side suit. He might have had a singleton. He might have had any number of good leads over here. And of course, the reason that the defense gets the opening lead is because they get the tempo advantage. They get to get their licks in first. This means that if your partner leads a spade and you have overcalled a really crappy spade suit, you've lost the element of timing that's an advantage that the defense has. I went through a period when I tried overcalling some of the suits that I had seen people bid as overcalls, including weak jump overcalls, 6-card suit, jack high, stuff like that. And noticed that we often got a poor result because my partner got off to the wrong lead. This is the kind of thing you learn from going over the hands at the end of a game. There's lots and lots to be learned by doing this if you'll take the time to review a little bit. And it doesn't have to be at the club immediately afterwards. You and your partner can get on the phone together the next afternoon and pull up the results from the common game or from Pianola. Pianola has the travelers and all, which makes it a handy thing to look at, or ACBL Live also. To go over your results on each board and see if you can figure out what went wrong. And if you can't, don't be afraid to ask somebody. There are a lot of people that are more than willing to help less experienced players, but they just kind of need to be asked. So don't ever hesitate to do that. But anyway, I digress here. Now at the 2 level, notice how the point requirement goes up. It says 12 high card points. A 2-level overcall is a different animal from a 1-level overcall. You can overcall at the 1 level with as few as 6 or 7 points if your partner is in agreement. All you have to do is mark that on your convention card. I personally write 7-ish so that if I have a 5-card suit ace queen in my hand and that's all, I can overcall it and still be conforming to what it says on my convention card. But at the 2 level, 12 high card points, particularly if you're bidding a minor and you need a good suit, if it's a minor, is what you need to have. If you are vulnerable and you want to make a 1-level overcall, especially if the opponents are not, no less a person than Donna Compton says you need 10 high card points to overcall at the 1 level if you're vulnerable and the opponents are not. And at the 3 and 4 level, if somebody's opened with a preempt, you can't get by with your common garden variety 11 or 12 high card point hand here. You've got to have considerably better to bid or to force your partner to bid if you double. So what's a quality suit? Well, I'm going to give you a little formula here to figure out. Many, many times the quality of the suit is more important than the overall strength of your hand, because a quality suit, particularly if a partner has some support for you, makes your hand more valuable. So add the number of cards in your long suit and add it to the number of honors you have in that suit. So count the jack and the 10 at only if they're supported by a queen or higher. In other words, no suit that's topped by the jack or the 10 can get those honors counted when you're talking about whether or not the suit's a quality suit. Because let's face it, a five card suit topped by the jack isn't much of a suit. If your quality value is equal to or higher than the number of tricks that you bid, make the overcall. If it's lower, pass. and be especially vigilant about your suit's quality value when your side is vulnerable. I know that this is more conservative than what a lot of you like to do. You know, I like to bid myself. I like to bid because I like to play the hands. But I've gotten myself into trouble by just being a freewheeling bidder, particularly when I moved up to the open games. Because let me tell you what, folks, those open players are not afraid to pull out the red card when they know you're being a cowboy. And they have enough experience to know when you're being a cowboy, at least a good deal of the time. So if you have any hopes of moving up from a limited game into an open game, uh, learn to pay attention to some of these things, because if you don't, you can get punished. And you know what? I really hate doing something like that and then having to apologize to my partner. Number one, it erodes the trust that my partner has in me. Uh, and number two, I always feel like I've let my partner down, because I did let my partner down. I took a really big risk that I shouldn't have taken. But for those of you who are relatively inexperienced, you're going to have to make some mistakes in this area before you learn when you're really, really, really overbidding. You can't learn that until you overbid enough times and you've gotten cracked and gone for a telephone number. Believe me, we've all been there. Uh, I heard somebody say one, and I mean, this person is a Silver Life master, said, "Oh, I went for 2,300 one time." Yikes! I have never gone for 2,300, but you know, a zero's a zero. It doesn't matter if it's minus 100 or minus 2,300, right? So, be especially careful, particularly with a 2-level overcall. Now then, I've got some examples here. Your right hand opponent opened a diamond. Notice this hand has only 7 points in it. That's why I write 7-ish on my card. You know, I've got a doubleton. It's not a great shape for an overcall. A 5-3-3-2 hand is balanced by definition, and I would prefer to have a little more shape. But I would really like my partner to lead hearts if he or she ends up on lead. And so I'm going to overcall that suit without even thinking about it very much. Even if I'm vulnerable, yeah, I know what I said, 10 high card points, but I've got 3 of the top 4 honors in this suit. I really want my partner to lead a heart, or goodness gracious, maybe he's got a decent hand with 3 decent hearts over there. We might have a chance for a part score here. The next one, another very good simple overcall here. This looks like you might want to bid one no trump, doesn't it? You got 15 points, 5-card suit. Up to you with the doubleton diamond, whether you bid a no trump or overcall one spade. When you get into the areas of overcalls, remember, one no trump overcall is the most dangerous bid in bridge. Many's the time when an unsuspecting person sitting in the direct seat is overcalled to no trump and gotten slapped with a big old penalty double. Because the partner of the opening bidder has about 10 points in his hand. He knows you have 15. He knows partner has an opening hand, and he knows you don't have a prayer. It is very dangerous to overcall one no trump, particularly with only a doubleton stop in the opponent's suit. The next hand is an example of a minimum 2-level overcall. Over one diamond, that club suit is good enough, and there are 12 high card points. Notice that's a very good club suit. I would love my partner to lead that suit. The last hand, though, has a relatively poor suit in it. And this is the only time that overcalling a really less than wonderful suit is appropriate. You have as much chance to buy the contract as the opponents do. So by all means, get that 5-card spade suit in the auction. It's not a great suit. Maybe partner has 3 of them with you and has the balance of the outstanding points, and you've got God suit here. So go for it. Go for it. The only reason though that I would want to make an overcall with that hand is because I have an opening hand. I do not want to pass when I have an opening hand and 5 cards in the spade suit, ever. But a reminder, whatever the top limit for your simple overcalls happens to be, if you have more high card points than that, don't overcall. Start with a double. And that applies to no trump overcalls as well. If your right hand opponent opens, doesn't matter what the suit is, if you bid 2 no trump, that's unusual in the direct seat. It does not show the 2 no trump opening hand. So you have to start with a double and then bid appropriately.
Well, Sherry has a question, Susan.
Sure, Sherry, go right ahead.
Could you use your example of the equality suit on 1 or 2 of these hands just to give an example of how that works?
Yeah, sure. I have 7 high card points and I have 3 honors in that first one. So I'm contracting for 7 tricks, right? Or I have 3 honors and 7 points. So as I said, that's a good enough suit, but it's a bare minimum. Does that make sense? Sherry, do you understand why I would overcall with that? I mean, I have a hand worth 8 points if you count that doubleton and the opener suit there. So
Well,
technically I can get to 8 points, but it's not 8 high card points.
So what I'm thinking though is length plus honors, so that would be 5 plus 3, right?
8, yes, and I'm contracting for 7 tricks.
Oh, okay.
See? Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah,
All right.
you bet. Same thing here. Length plus honors. Plenty. This one, length plus honors. I'm contracting for 8 tricks here. I have 5 and I have 4 honors, so I meet that easily. And then on the last one here, I have an opening hand, and I want to play this. I have only 2 honors here, so this is 7, but I'm only contracting for 7 tricks, so I'm still within the allowable there to do that.
Thank you.
You bet. What if you're the partner of the overcaller? We don't call that person the responder, although technically he is responding to the overcall. We call him the advancer, because having 2 people call the responder gets way too confusing. And in some respects, being the advancer rather than the responder is easier, because number one, partner has 5 cards in his suit, unless he has an exceptionally strong suit, like the ace, king, queen, jack, or the ace, king, queen, 10, or the ace, king, jack, 10, something like that. He has 5 cards in the suit, and he has fewer than whatever the top number of points that you've agreed for an overcall is, because he didn't start with a double. So you can figure out quite a bit from that bid. You don't have to respond at all if you have fewer than about 8 high card points. Unless you have 3 or 4 card support, you may or may not want to raise partner suit 1 level. If your partner has 8 points and say you have 6 and you buy the contract at 2, and somebody else whips out the double card, you're likely not to like the results. So even if your partner bids a minor, he's showing you 5 of them. Remember, overcalling is not like opening the bidding. You cannot overcall with a 3-card club suit, as you might bid a 3-card club suit if you were opening. When you overcall, you promise a 5-card suit unless it is exceptionally strong. Now, knowing that you just can respond the way that you would if your partner opened, then let's take a look here. Your partner overcalled a spade over their one heart bid. Certainly, this hand is worth a raise to two spades. And if you're my partner, I have a way to show 4-card support with this kind of strength, even by using a fit, show, and jump. But this is worth a 2-spade call all day long. And if the bidding, let's say the opponent's bid 3 hearts, you know that you and your partner have a 9-card spade fit, don't you? So you can certainly compete to the 3 level because you have the law on your side. This is one time when being in a competitive auction gives you an advantage. You know your partner has 5 spades. You have 4. Yeah, you only have what, 7 high card points. You have a doubleton that makes your hand worth 8 points. And partner may have only 8 or 9 or 10 points. But you have the law of total tricks on your side, and you have the master suit here. So you would certainly consider raising to 3 spades if the auction forced you that high here. That's one of my rules for a competitive auction when I'm making decisions. What does the law of total tricks tell me? Should I compete to the 3 level or not? Now,
Susan,
yes.
couple questions from the chat. First one is, are losers considered?
For overcalling, I don't count losers. No, I look more at suit quality for overcalling.
Okay. If right-hand opponent has bid 1 no trump and you have, say, 16 high card points, flattish hand, should you double? I've heard it said.
It depends on your method, but with a balanced hand, and even if I have equal or better on the no trump, I gave up trying to double 1 no trump openers for penalty a long time ago, because every time I take a trick, I finesse myself when I have to lead back. One day I doubled a 1 no trump opener with 19 high card points in my hand, thinking, oh, I for sure got this. I'm sitting behind the no trump bidder. I cannot miss. Guess what? Not only did my opponent make it, she made 3 because her partner had the lion's share of the outstanding points, and he had a 5-card club suit. I had nothing in clubs. My values were all elsewhere. And so we got a 0 on that. And if I can't beat a 1 no trump with 19 high card points in my hand, when am I going to do it? And particularly when I would have considered opening 2 no trump with the hand. I'm going to just sit there and let them play it and hope I can beat it, because I have not had good results doubling a 1 no trump opener, particularly with a flat hand. When you're getting ready to overcall no trump, the thing that's important, remember Mel's rule of 8? We've talked about Mel's rule of 8 several times. Shape is more important than the number of points you have. He says have at least 6 points if you're going to overcall in the direct seat. And that's a good guideline. No, Mel's rule of 8 and Mel's rule of 2 are things we've talked about extensively. So I'm going to leave it at that. If you don't know it, Google it. It's a very helpful guideline until you learn what to look for when you're considering interfering in a no trump auction. But shape is the most important thing when you're thinking about overcalling no trump. Now there. I'm one of those people that can't help myself when I see bridge books. I read bridge books the way other people read novels. That probably doesn't surprise any of you. I have given away recently a number of copies that I had that were extra because I saw the book and I thought, oh, I need to read that book. I'm going to buy it. Well, I was unorganized. Bridge books were all over my house and I didn't realize I already had it. So I'm an idiot for bridge books. Well, you can find more than one way to respond to an overcall. There's a more traditional method, that's very similar to responding to an opening bid. And then there's the newer, more modern way of doing it that preserves the 3-level bid for a preemptive call. So raises are based on trump lengths or the law of total tricks when you're using the newer methods. So if you have 3 trumps, you can definitely raise to the 2-level. If partner has made a one level overcall, then you should have 8 trumps between you. If you have at least 6 points, like any normal responder would, then you just bid the way you would if your partner had opened with that particular bid. But with 4 trumps in your hand, you jump to the 3-level. This is a law bid, as they say, a law of total tricks. You have a known 9-card fit. So bid to the 9-trick level immediately to disrupt bidding as much as possible. And conversely, or no, but similarly, if you have 5 trumps, you have the weak freak with 6 to 10 points in your hand, just raise to the 4-level. You don't expect to make it, but the hand belongs to the opponents most likely, and you need to give them as much trouble as you possibly can. You have a known 10-card fit, bid to the 4-level. Now notice, these are competitive auctions. Competitive auctions. And then, so this means that you don't have the 3-level bid to show a limit raise. The way that you show a limit raise is by Q-bidding the opponent's suit. It promises a limit raise or better in values with 3+ support for partner suit. In effect, it asks your partner, hey, how good is your overcall? Do you have your usual lousy 8 over there, or do you actually have something here where we might expect to go? And the beauty of that is it keeps the bidding level low. If you jump to the 3-level immediately and partner bid on a minimum overcall, and you're at the 3-level, all of a sudden you may be too high. And it's unfortunate because you don't have to bid that way. You can show the same values by Q-bidding the opponent's suit, remembering that Q-bids are always forcing for 1 round. If you have a problem remembering that and you see that your partner has bid the opponent's suit, for goodness sakes, don't freeze up and just pass because you can't remember what it means. All strange bids are forcing. So just make your most natural bid if you can't remember what that means.
Susan, questions from the chat?
Sure.
Starting with what you just mentioned, what does it mean to promise a limit bid or better?
Well, a limit raise or better shows, as the previous graphic showed, 11, a hand worth 11 or more points, or 10 or more points, assuming you have some shape. I do not consider a 10.4333 hand with only 3-card support in it to be a limit raise myself. I devalue those hands. So I call a limit raise 11+ points, total hand evaluation points, and at least 3-card trump support. Now, remembering that the traditional way that most players show a limit raise in response to an opening of 1 of a major, like 1 heart, 3 hearts, should show 4. A direct jump to the 3-level should always show 4-card support because there are other ways to show 3-card limit raises. So.
Okay. Do you consider vulnerability in all this?
Well, I'll tell you what, Marty Bergen is the author, well, along with Larry Cohen, of the Law of Total Tricks. Marty says that colors are for children. Now, when I get to the point that I can play and bid the way Marty Bergen does, I might take that attitude also. But when I have the Law of Total Tricks on my side, I have a 70% or thereabouts chance of coming out with a good result. It all depends on your partner's tolerance for bad scores. If your partner just can't stand it when something like that happens, then you should probably give a whole lot of weight to vulnerability. But when I have the law of total tricks on my side, I tend to say, okay, how really bad is my hand here? If I only have 2 or 3 points, I'm probably not going to jump to the 3 level. I would probably raise only 1 level, but I'm probably going to raise when I know we have a 9-card fit, even if I don't have very many points.
Okay.
But this is a matter for you and your partner to talk about. If you're vulnerable and the opponents are not, are you comfortable with the 6 to 10 points and 4-card support to jump to the 3 level preemptively? Not everybody is. But you can't be afraid to take some risk in this game. If you're afraid to take a risk, you need to stay at home in bed, right? all of life is a risk.
So where does a mixed raise come in this table? Usually,
Well, it's a mixed raise is not in this table. We're going to get into mixed raises and fit showing jumps also in a week or two here because Patty Singleton requested a lesson on splinter bids, and these particular types of bids fit in well with the discussion of splinter bids. So
Okay.
we'll get into that in another week or two, but I'm a little bit pressed for time to try to cover all of these things this morning. But it's coming, I promise.
One more question, Janet Pitt has.
Susan, I had read somewhere with Larry Cohen as my partner, as the advancer. If I have 4 of my partner suit with 0 to 5 points, I jump to the 3 level.
That's entirely, I mean, you can use any point range you want to, Janet.
Okay.
Larry and Marty were very aggressive bidders and users of the law of total tricks. Most people are not. That's why I'm showing the 6 to 10 points here. I've done it with as few as 3 points when we had the spade suit. I knew we were not likely to make it, but I didn't care. I don't mind going off a trick or two if the vulnerability is not horrible, and I'm pretty sure that the opponents own the hand. You have to get over your fear of going set. Going set does not necessarily mean a bad score. So if you and your partner are comfortable with 0 to 5 points, by all means use that range. This is an area for partnership agreement, and a lot of people are not comfortable with that few number of points. But if my partner is agreeable to it, I'm willing to do it, knowing that we may occasionally get our heads handed to us on the silver platter. But as I said, all of life is a risk. So
Okay, thank you. Okay.
you bet. The traditional
Susan.
responses are jump
Susan.
raise with that limit raise and 4 trumps. Raise to game with 15 or more points. If your partner's got 8, that may be pushing it a little bit. And of course, non-traditional players also use the weak freak approach to bidding game with 5-card support. Now, the method that you and your partner want to use is strictly up to you, but I find the use of Q bids to be very handy because it keeps us out of the 3 level when we don't belong there. Rather than getting too high immediately, we can stop at the 2 level. So here are some examples. Your left-hand opponent opened a diamond and your partner overcalled a heart. Your right-hand opponent passed, and now it's your bid. This is a 7-point hand, totally flat. I don't care. I'm going to raise my partner to 2 hearts. If he had opened 1 heart, I'd bid 2 hearts. So this is the same response. With this next hand, I have 11 high card points and 3 nice hearts. Now, if I had a 4th trump, I might use the traditional responses, but I don't have a 4th trump, so I don't care which set of responses you're using. You need to bid 2 diamonds first. That's a Q bid of the opponent's suit. saying, how good's your overcall over there? And if partner just bids 2 hearts, well, I can pass, knowing that there is not enough for game. But if he bids something else, or if he bids 3 hearts, then he may even bid 4, knowing I have a limit raise with 3 or 4 trumps for him. He may even bid the game himself. Now then, the next one, similar, only this one has more points in it. I still don't know, though, how many points my partner has. With a simple overcall, that's a very wide range. Mine is 7 to 17. That a 10-point range, and particularly in the lower end, there is huge. So I don't want to bid 4 hearts immediately. I Q bid 2 diamonds and then raise hearts. And I've got a note here. If you had red meat for breakfast, raise to 4. This is a nice hand here. It's worth 16 points. You should be very close to having the game, particularly when you have 4 card support here. Those of you who don't use Q bids could jump directly to 3 hearts here because you have a 4th trump. And with this hand right here, the last one, I'm bidding 4 hearts all day long, not expecting to make, but wanting to keep the opponents out of the auction. Bidding the opponent's suit, as I said, is always forcing. It asks partner, how good is your overcall? If he has his usual 8 or 9 points, he just rebids his suit at the 2 level, and all is said and done right there. But if he has enough to jump to the 3 level saying, well, hey, I have more than a minimum overcall over here. What do you think? I'm right on the line here for bidding the game opposite a limit raise. How good is your hand? Do you have a minimum limit raise, or do you actually have a hand worth 12-ish or so? So it gives you a lot more flexibility to use a Q bid. Now, if you are unable to support your partner's overcalled suit, be very careful about bidding another suit, because you have no safety net here. Your bid is not forcing. But if partner has no support for your suit, then he may rebid his suit and you'll be a level higher than you are now. So when the advancer bids a new suit, he's saying to his partner, I have no tolerance for your suit. That means 2 or fewer than 2 cards, I should say. Singleton or a void in your suit. But I have a suit over here that I think is probably as good as yours, and I'm asking for support from you. This is called non-forcing constructive. Partner doesn't have to raise. If he has tolerance, 2 cards, then that may be your safest place to play. Remember, in competitive auctions, you're often looking for the safest place to pass. But you should have a good hand to do that. If you have no tolerance for your partner's suit and a weak hand, resist the urge to rescue him. Do not be an ambulance driver. If you don't, you may find yourself in a much deeper hole and you still have that same weak hand. So when partner has overcall, your bids are not forcing unless you Q bid, and partner may have only his usual lousy 8. Now, you know he doesn't have 18. So without support, if you have a weak hand, and by weak I mean fewer than 8 high card points, you're probably better off just to pass. So now here's another set of examples here. Your left-hand opponent opens a diamond and your partner overcalls a heart. The next player passes and it's your bid. You have only 6 points and a doubleton heart. You have a 5-card spade suit. What do you think the odds are that your partner has spade support? Do you have any idea? You don't, do you? It's entirely possible that your left-hand opponent is sitting there with 4 spades to the queen jack 8 or some such thing. So with only 6 points and no support for partner suit, particularly an unfavorable vulnerability, you're probably better off to pass. But look at this next example. You have a singleton heart, a decent 5-card spade suit, and if partner can't help you in spades, maybe he can bid clubs, which you could pass. 4-3 fits are not ideal, but your partner should know that if you bid a new suit, that you have at least 5 of them. Your suit rates to be as good or better than his, and I have no tolerance for your suit. But I think my suit is probably just as good as yours. And if you have 2 or 3 cards in my suit, we're better off there. This is not a forcing bid unless you mark it so on your convention card. Most pairs do not play that a new suit by the advancer is forcing. I know that that's confusing to a lot of you, but there are good reasons for it. Number one, there's been no opening bid. You have no knowledge that either of you has as many as 12 high card points. So to make this a forcing bid is running the risk of getting yourself into a deep hole that you cannot climb out of. Partner can pass with 3 spades if he has a minimum overcall. And that is what he should do. But in this case, with only a singleton in your partner's suit and a nice suit of your own, bid it. Lacking a nice suit of your own, partner made his bed, he's going to have to lie in it. It happens from time to time, but you just need to remember not to try to rescue. Now, sometimes you're going to have the kind of hand that would enable you to advance in no trump. You can't support your partner's overcalled suit, but you have enough in the opener suit that you want to suggest a no trump contract. This means that you absolutely have to have stoppers in the suit that was opened. And because your partner overcalled rather than opening, you need to have more points to advance in no trump than you do to respond in no trump. So if you want to advance by bidding 1 no trump, you need 8 to 11 points because partner may have as few as only 8. If you want to bid 2 no trump, you should have at least 12 points, 12 to 14. And if you're lucky enough to be sitting there with 15 or 16, then you can consider bidding 3 no trump. But it is very unusual for the person sitting in the 4th seat to have 15 or 16 points when you have one hand that opened and another hand that overcalled. That means that your right-hand opponent is broke totally. I personally have never had 15 to 16 points as an advancer, but it could happen. So, in fact, I have some examples right here. Your left-hand opponent opened 1 club and partner overcalled 1 spade. In all of these hands, there's only a doubleton spade. But notice, on this hand, I have 10 high card points and I have decent stoppers and clubs here, definitely. And I have a little something in the 2 other unbid suits. So 1 no trump is a totally appropriate advance here. Partner might be able to make 1 spade with only a doubleton, but your hand is good enough opposite a hand holding a 5-card spade suit with enough to overcall that you would have a chance to take 7 tricks. If partner just has a long spade suit, he'll rebid his spades and that'll be that. This next hand is a little better. You still have the same good clubs. Your hearts are better. So now you can bid 2 no trump. And this is what a 3 no trump advance looks like. Notice the clubs are very well stocked, very well stocked. And the only suit that you don't have is partner spade suit that he's announced. I mean, this makes 3 no trump a viable contract, certainly a reasonable choice. Now we get into the realm of 1 no trump overcalls. An overcall of 1 no trump is almost exactly the same as an opening bid of 1 no trump, with one very notable exception. And that is that you have the whatever suit the opener bid stopped, with at least 1 stop, and 1.5 or 2 stops would be better. What's 1.5 stops? Ace queen, something like that. Other than that, advancing following a 1 no trump opening is just like responding to a 1 no trump opening, overcall, rather, that I should have said overcall the first time. So here's another thing I want to remind you about that people forget from time to time. If your right-hand opponent opened with a weak 2 bid, then an overcall of 2 no trump shows a 1 no trump opener. 15 to 18 point balanced hand, or it shows the same thing as overcalling 1 no trump over another suit. It does not show 20 or 21. It shows the 1 no trump overcall level with good stoppers in that suit that your right-hand opponent used as a preempt. If you have more than 18 high card points, though, you start with a double. And then with 19 or 20, you rebid no trump at the cheapest level. And if you're lucky enough to have 21 or 22 high card points, jump a level in no trump after you double. That doesn't happen very often, but the 19 to 20 point hand does. Happened to me the other day. I doubled and then rebid no trump at the cheapest level, and fortunately my partner got it.
Susan,
Yes.
Question going back just a bit, just to verify, a new suit by an unpassed hand doesn't apply to overcalls.
That's right. That's right. Responding and advancing are 2 different things. When you have an opening bid, it's responder's job. Remember, you've heard me say 1,000 times at least. Opener is the describer, responder is the decider. In order to decide, the responder has to ask some questions. And the only way that he can get the answer to all the questions he has is by making forcing bids. But in the case of overcaller and advancer, you're just most of the time trying to buy the hand at the cheapest level possible. Now, occasionally there will be a game between overcaller and advancer, but that's the exception rather than the rule. And that's the reason for the difference. Advancer's job is not to decide where the final contract is, in the same way that it's responder's job. That's why a new suit by an unpassed responder is forcing for 1 round, but that's not the case with the advancer. Does that make sense?
Yes, thank you.
Okay. Now, there's also the possibility of weak jump overcalls. This basically shows the same thing as opening with a weak 2 bid. For most people, there are still some people who use a jump overcall as a strong hand. So if it's a pair that's unknown to you, it always pays to ask the partner of that bidder what that shows. The people who play that as a strong bid get fewer every day, but it still happens, particularly when you're playing online. Now, if you're not committed one way or the other, guess which hand occurs more frequently? The weak hand does, doesn't it? That's why weak jump overcalls have become almost universally accepted, because you just get to use the bid more often. The requirements for those kinds of overcalls are basically the same as the requirements for opening with a weak 2. But it makes openers' responses easier, but it's the same thing. With 18 or more high card points, double first. So, when you have a borderline hand, the best thing to do is look at the texture of your hand. Those intermediate cards can often make all the difference. King, Queen, 9, 8, 7 is a much better 5-card suit than King, Queen, 4, 3, 2. I think any of you can see the reason why I would say that. And in fact, texture is so important that when you have a 9 and an 8 together, along with some higher honors, those two cards together can frequently act as an honor, in effect replacing the 10, for instance, if you don't have it. So texture should probably be the number one consideration, and the degree of fit, of course, when you have borderline hands. Now, when the opponents overcall and you're the opening side, you can use their bids against them the same way that they can use yours. If they can Q bid to show a limit raise, so can you. Here's an example. North opens a heart, East overcalls a spade, and both of these hands are certainly good 2-spade calls. This hand is worth 11 points, 10 high card points, 4 card support, and a doubleton in the opponent's suit. This one is worth 14 points here. But notice, it's entirely possible that your partner has enough that he might want to explore slam. You have enough. You have a hand worth 14 points and your partner open. We don't know yet. East could be bidding on Queen, 6, well, probably not a 6-card suit, but he could be bidding on Queen, Jack, 10, 9, 7, something like that for spades, and that your partner has the ace, maybe a little one, and you may have a play for slam. The Q bid keeps all of that in play. This means that rather than bidding 3 hearts here, which is what you would bid if you were using the more traditional responses, you can now use that bid to show 4 trumps and 6 to 10 points, or I've done it with as few as 3. If the opponent's on the hand, they're going to keep bidding, but I have obstructed the bidding as much as I possibly can. This is a hand that has 6 points in it and 1 for the shortness and 4 card support. So a 3-heart call here is weak in a competitive auction when you use Q bids. Same thing with the weak freak. If you know that you have a combined 10 trumps between you, just bid the game. You don't expect to make. If the opponents have the spade game, it's incumbent upon them to bid it. Maybe they can make 3 spades, but not 4. In this instance, you now have 5 card heart support and 6 points. So go for it. You're probably not going to make it. You should not expect to make it. If you have a better hand, the kind of hand that you think you might have a play for the heart game, Q bid first. That will let your partner know, in case he has more than a minimum opening, that there's a possibility here of more than just game. You keep your options open by using the Q bid rather than jumping directly to the 4 level when you have a good hand. Bidding 4 hearts in this kind of a situation shows the weak freak, which is 10-card trump fit, but probably not much else.
Susan,
Now, yes.
Backing up on the second example, can you use Jacoby to no trump?
Jacoby 2 no trump is off with interference.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm. At least that's the way 99.9% of the world plays it. If you and your partner do not want to do that, of course, you are free to make that change. But remember, if that had been a double, there's a convention called Jordan that shows a limit raise or better with 4 card support. when there's a double. So there is a use for 2 no trump over a double there, but when there's a suit bid, Jacoby 2 no trump does not apply, at least in my world. Okay, here's the situation. North opens a diamond. If you're sitting east, what are you going to bid here? How about number 1? Anybody have a thought? Is anybody going to bid?
One spade.
Sure. Why wouldn't you bid 1 spade there? This is an 11 high card point hand, and you've got a very nice 5 card suit. So I'm bidding regardless of vulnerability there. How about number 2?
5, 6, 7, 11 point.
You have
One
11
club,
high card points.
one club,
You want to bid 2 clubs?
one.
You
Two.
can't. You're
Oh,
right.
2 clubs. Yeah.
Pass.
Anybody else have an opinion? Well, I'm in
Two.
agreement. I would pass this hand. That hand is way too quacky, and the Queen of Spades is not guarded. So, and the Queen of Diamonds may or may not be worth anything. Remember, lone queens and jacks in the opponent's bid suit are often not worth the paper they're printed on. How about number 3?
One heart.
Sure, absolutely. 1 heart. How about number 4?
One heart.
I would bid 1 heart also. Absolutely. This is a very fine heart suit. In fact, 9 and 7. Oh, well, actually, let's look at this hand again. I'm looking at the heart suit. I didn't see the 9 initially. I'm still having some vision issues from my recent problem here, but let's count these points. We have 19 high card points. What do you think?
Double.
Double first. Yes. You can't even overcall a no trump because you don't have a diamond stopper. But with 19 high card points, you need to start with the double here and then rebid hearts. How about number 6? This is a toughie.
2 club. Or no.
1 spade.
Some people would start with a spade. I am a shape purist, though. Having 6 clubs and 5 spades, I'm going to start with a 2 club call. This is extreme distribution. I have 12 high card points, but I want to get both of my suits into the bidding. And of course, my opponent opened a diamond. He couldn't have opened a heart, could have been more cooperative, and then I could have used a Michael's Q bid. But he opened a diamond. Unusual 2 no trump would show hearts and clubs, and that's not what I have. So I'm going to start with 2 clubs, and assuming I get the chance to bid again, and I think the opponents probably have hearts and diamonds, at least somewhat, I'm going to rebid spades.
What about the reverse thing?
This is an overcall, Patty. And besides, yes, you're right. If I were the opener and I opened 1 club, unless my partner bids 1 no trump, I'm not worried about a reverse. Extreme distribution means that you sometimes have to make tough choices. You can bid a spade here. That shows 5 spades, but there are no guarantees. I would dearly love it if my partner had 3 spades, but every time I hope for that, I don't get it, if you want to know the truth. If it's your style, your partnership style, to get the major suit into the bidding first, then you would bid 1 spade. But if I overcall 1 spade, then I have to bid clubs twice, and that doesn't even accurately show my shape. I bid 2 clubs first with this hand because that club suit is so good. If it were weak and my spade suit were much stronger, I would start with a spade. But my club suit is the better suit here. So I'm going to start with 2 clubs, and whatever my partner may pass, I'm going to rebid spades. I'm going to rebid spades and wish that I had gotten the opportunity to use a 2-suited overcall. A 2-suited overcall would have been perfect, but I don't have one here. So, all right, let's try number 7. And in case I didn't emphasize it enough, what you bid first here should be a matter of partnership agreement. Okay, number 7, what do we think? East opened the bidding with a heart this time.
One
Spade.
spade.
One
One
spade.
spade.
How about number 8?
Two diamonds.
Two diamonds.
Yeah, sure. This hand is more than good enough, and it has a nice 6-card diamond suit. 2 diamonds is perfect. How about number 9?
One spade.
Yeah, it's only got eight points in it, but Jack 10 9 there. I love that. I love my intermediates here, and I would love it if my partner would lead a spade. How about number 10?
Pass.
Pass.
Yes, absolutely. How about number 11?
You read the letter, and if you agree with it,
Pass.
sign it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it tells you to pass, doesn't it?
Less than 24 hours.
The 2 hearts shows spades in a minor. You don't have enough to bid 1 no trump. So what are you going to, and you certainly have the wrong shape for a takeout double. Your partner's going to think you have spades. So you don't have a suitable call. Remember, pass doesn't necessarily show weakness. It just means you don't have a suitable call. And with this last one, we're going to stop here with this last one. How about number 12? What should he do?
Double.
No trump.
One no trump.
1 no trump. Yes. 1 no trump. 16 high card points, balanced hand, hearts well stopped. Perfect. Perfect description. I've got another page of stuff in here, or maybe even 2 or 3.
Susan, Susan, didn't you say that one no trump overcall is the most dangerous brick?
It is. But in this case, I've got 16 high card points, and I have no other way to get into the auction. And I'm not worried about hearts. I'm not worried about hearts here.
Susan, if hearts had been like diamonds, you just had queen 9-7, you would pass.
Yeah, well, I would have to think about it. Queen, when a suit has been bid and raised, queen third is not a stopper. So I may pass the first time around to see whether the responder raises hearts. If the responder raises hearts and I have only the queen 9-7, I'm very dubious about the quality of my stopper. I've had it drummed into me that when the opponents have bid and raised a suit, queen third is not a stopper. So, good question, Patty.
Hi, this is Susan. Thanks for watching this video today. Most of these videos come from our free bridge lessons that we present on Zoom every Saturday morning at 9 a.m. Central Time. If you'd like to join us for those lessons, you can email us at the address shown below and we'll send you the link. If you can't attend the lessons, then feel free to subscribe to our channel and you'll be notified when there is a new one added. Again, thanks for stopping by and we hope to see you soon.